There we go. Good morning. Welcome to Brewing Happiness on location in my bathroom this Monday morning. Magic Mondays, right? Love to think of Mondays as magic, and I'm for a couple of reasons. We'll get to that, but I'm coming to you from my tiny bathroom because there are tiny people sleeping in my guest room today, where my guest room / office, where I normally broadcast from. And for some reason, at this time of the year, the sun is merciless in the back of my house, which is all windows. So scooting around to find a place that was private, could close the door, and provided good light, ended me up here in front of my bathroom. So that's where we're going to record from today. That's okay. Doesn't that sound like fun? It's a beautiful little bathroom. So yeah. Oh, you don't want you to. I'm going to turn it. I don't want you to see. You don't need to see that part of the bathroom, right? That part's not necessary for today. So, Magic Monday. Welcome to Monday, and we're going to talk magic a little bit today. I always think of Mondays as magic because I think of new beginnings as magical, right? The first day of school, full of fear. You have those dreams the night before of showing up to school in your underwear. I don't know, maybe that's just me. But still something in spite of that, still something magical about the possibility of new beginnings. And Monday, every week, we get that possibility of new beginnings. Sure, it's scary. You slough off the weekend and the safety net of business not being transacted, and you don't have to deal with things. And mostly our weekends are dedicated to the pursuit of pleasures and family, cooking, getting together. Anyway, I'm getting off the topic that Mondays can be magic because they are the start of the new week, where we get things done, where we focus on our live streams and moving forward and maybe just getting through the week. But anyway, Monday is a brand new week, and that is magical to me. And that's what we're talking about today. Good morning, Debbie. That's what we're talking about today is magic. Now, scientist Dean Radin wrote a book called The Unconscious Mind, or The Unconscious Universe, sorry. And he is a scientist at the Center for Noetic Science in Phoenix, Arizona. Okay. Noetic science is a science dedicated to conscious thought. Oh, I'm lost. I lost my place. Hold on. I'm going to check my notes here for a second. Noetic science. I can't remember. It's the science of consciousness and healing and the power of our minds, basically, is what noetic science. I lost what I actually wrote down. But anyway, Dr. Dean Radin says magic is our natural reality. That things like ESP and telepathy, even what is it called? Kinesis, moving things with our minds. These are all very real and very possible, and just a matter of focus. In fact, the U.S. government had a program, I don't know if they still have it, called Stargate, where they studied the power of the human mind. And what was considered magic, or in the realms of magic, in the past, historically, we kind of assigned magic to explain all kinds of phenomena that we didn't understand. And eventually, what was considered magic became science, right? Germs and flying and machines and all that were considered fantasy and magic in certain periods of time. And then now they're part of our everyday reality, right? We're all familiar with the magic words, abracadabra, alakazam, hocus pocus. Magic's been around forever. The oldest magician was considered to be named Dedi back in 2700 BC in ancient Egypt. And he performed sleight of hand magic tricks. Then there was, in ancient Rome, balls and cups, right? The balls and cups sleight of hand. You've seen it. The guy puts the ball under the cup, move them around a little bit, and you fantastically watch as things disappear and move around, right? This was happening back in ancient Rome. So magic has been around for a very, very long time. Now, today, science is beginning to study magic because there's things going on in magic that are, well, we think, first of all, let's decide if you're thinking of magic as simply sleight of hand, or if it is, as Penn of Penn and Teller describes it, it's exploiting gaps in human perception, right? The sleight of hand and the tricks used by magicians is being studied now in science, because the truth is science is learning a lot from magic. As it turns out, there may not a lot that science is teaching the magicians, but the magicians are teaching the scientists, right? The truth is we take reality for granted, right? We have a tendency to think and believe that which we can see, feel, touch, hear, taste is real, and everything else is magic, right? But the truth is there is reality beyond our senses, and the fact is our senses aren't always reliable. See, our brain, things are moving at us so quickly as human beings in the world today. There is so much input flying around us all the time, and we are being forced to make instantaneous decisions and judgments about everything. So our brain takes little shortcuts, right? Our brain uses what it's known from the past, our experiences, our ability to predict based on patterns what's going to happen next. And so we see something, we see the end, and we kind of fill in the middle for ourselves because our brain says, we gotta figure this out before we actually have time to stop and work through the steps of perceptions, right? So a study at the Barrow Neurological Institute. I'm so sorry. This is what went from Phoenix, Arizona. The Noetic Institute's actually in California. My apologies. But a study they're studying the neuroscience of magic. This is exciting stuff, folks. And what they found out is they're calling it magicology. I want to go study magicology, right? Because we're moving past the sleight of hand to understand how this is working in our brain. We're mining stage illusions for insights into brain functions. That's what magicology is all about. Because sometimes, even when we know we're being fooled, we still don't see all the sleight of hand that's going on, right? We still don't see it. Magicians are fooling the mind. The magicians are fooling your mind at a very deep level. So, here's the deal. There's this thing called, I don't know how to say it, saccade, S-A-C-C-A-D-E. And this is movement of the eye that precede conscious decision-making, or conscious decision about where you're going to turn your gaze, okay? So, somebody points in a straight line, points at something, straight line. Your eyes are immediately directed to where they're pointing. Again, the shortcut. You're like, they're pointing, they want me to look there, so we immediately go there. Now, when the magician moves his hand in an arc, what we discovered is when your hand moves in an arc like this, well, there's no place to look to. The hand's not going anywhere, right? So we watch the hand. Instead of watching the destination, we watch the hand. And as we're watching this hand, who knows what the other hand is doing? The basis of magic, right? The eyes are quicker than the hands. That is the saying that goes. And this is called a pursuit system. When we point at something and we look to where you're pointing, or we look at the destination, that's a pursuit system. Hand moving in a semicircle, like I said, is not, I'm not sure what that system's called, but pretty interesting. Try that next time you want to hide something from somebody. Make a motion like this and see if you don't distract them to put something in your pocket, or whatever sleight of hand you're trying to achieve, right? Oh, time for a sip of coffee. Good. So, magic. Why do we love magic? said, been around forever. And who doesn't love magic? Everybody loves magic. Well, why do we? Well, we like to suspend reality, right? Our lives are serious business. Our lives are full of serious responsibilities, decisions, headaches, troubles, right? Who doesn't love to suspend that reality for just a minute? And in that suspended reality, as we watch things we can't explain, we feel hopeful. We feel optimistic that things will always work out. There's always a way to make things happen. Everything happens for a purpose, right? We are attracted to things we can't explain. For some reason, I mean, look at a baby. A baby loves to play a game of peekaboo. A baby will play a game of peekaboo for hours. Why? Because we love what we don't know. We love what we can't explain, right? And when we can't explain it, when we find something that happens and we can't explain it, we're a little scared, but we're also a little thrilled. Remember, part of the scared emotion is a thrill. This is why we go on roller coasters, right? So we love the thrill of not knowing exactly what's going on. We love the feeling of wonder. Who doesn't stare at a sunset or an ocean wave crashing, right? And feel a little bit of sense of awe and wonder. And we get that from magic, awe and wonder. How did this happen? I don't know. How did this happen? And so we get to participate in that wonder by watching magicians or watching things we can't understand. And then again, and our interest, our amazement, our enthralled with magic kind of ends when you learn the trick. When you know what's happening, you're like, meh. Right? It's just some interesting movements. We love the thrill of not knowing. We love to be fooled. We love the magic. Magic's part of life. Come on, magic is all part of our life. The magic of birth, miracle of life, right? Why do we just get all dreamy when you smell baby smell? Yeah, magic. Why do we stop and watch a sunset? Magic. Why do we love a piece of apple pie with a warm apple pie with a crumb top and some creamy vanilla ice cream sitting on top of it? Magic. Falling in love. Magic. Things we can't explain. All called magic. Magic reminds us of innocence. It reminds us of being a child. It reminds us of a time when we didn't know everything. We didn't know anything. So everything was magic. Think of when you were a small child. Wearing your mom's lipstick. Magic, right? Everything's magic when you're small and can't explain things. It's an escape from reality. Our belief in magic. Our belief in magic makes us kind of start to feel comfortable with the unknown. It's okay if we don't know. It happened. We saw it. It must be real. It's okay if we don't know what happens. We don't need to know. I say all the time, I don't know how my TV works. I still enjoy Netflix, right? But magical thinking is ingrained in us as human beings, right? Because we have this default position. Everything happens for a reason. So magic, when we can't explain it, we kind of just put it into that, I don't understand it, but everything happens for a reason. So I know that there's an explanation is going to be coming to me, or that the explanation is not important to me. It's just, we like to rationalize. We like to put things, and we like to have everything wrapped up in a nice, neat little bow, right? We want to be able to explain it. And so when we do magic, or when we're looking at magic and we can't understand it, we think, everything happens for a reason. The magician knows what he's doing. I'm sure there's an explanation, and we have the ability to wrap it all up. Now, some thought in the olden days, let's say magic has been around, and we put magic in our lives, right? We infuse things with magic. You would so much, let's say you want to let's say your man has gone on a trip, right? And he's gone and you miss him, so you wear his shirt for a little while. It's a little magic, a little bit of him that's there with you in the form of that shirt. And in fact, there are some theories that back in the day, back in the ancient times, how we perceived things, whether we felt attracted to them or repelled by them, was our innate intuitive system to avoid germs and dirt and people we didn't know, or things that have been places we didn't know, a comfortability with the familiar, right? And so we started thinking of this intuitive sense as magic, because we do have we do know things, we don't know how we know them, right? We do have a sixth sense, a connection to resources and senses greater than our own, and we can't explain it. We don't know if it's real. Some people call magical thinking, right? As if just to put a blanket on the unexplained. But we have magic in our lives, and we create it sometimes with our very thoughts, right? It's mind power. We have this idea that A happens before B, therefore A must have somehow caused B. And so we assign some very big power to our thoughts. So I'm standing in front of a soccer ball. I've moved my leg. I touch the ball and the ball moves. I go, oh, I kicked the ball. That's why it moved, right? And then I think of someone I think of someone I'm unhappy about, and I wish they would get sick, and then they do. And all of a sudden I think, oh, maybe those thoughts, did they control that, right? A must cause B. We are always looking for connections. Our brain is always looking for ways to explain things, and therefore sometimes we create connections that don't exist, but maybe they do. We've had magical thinking around a long time. We knock on wood to prevent something we've just mentioned from happening, right? We wear a lucky piece of clothing. When you go to Las Vegas, maybe you got a lucky shirt that you always win in, or a lucky outfit that makes you feel confident, right? Or bad luck. Bad luck is considered kind of magic, right? Crossing the path of a black cat, walking under a ladder, breaking a mirror. Those are all superstitions that have their basis in what you might call magical thinking, right? So the truth is that magic has been around and is part of our lives. And at one time it was called the art. Magic was called the art, right? And in many ways, magic is an art. Creating illusions, playing with the way we perceive things. I mean, art is about creating emotion and touching your heart through words and pictures or actions, right? Art can be a lot of things. But look at the language of magic. So you have what's called the grimoire, right, which is the language of magic. Just a fancy way of saying grammar, right? A spell, where you're spelling out how to do something, right? It's like a formula. You're spelling out how to do that. You cast a spell. Magic has been is involved or is ingrained in the lexicon of our language. And thinking about magic, engaging in these kinds of thoughts, wondering how it works or accepting that it doesn't work, right? It gives us comfort and confidence and some optimism, all of some of the effects of believing in magic. So going back to magic is the art, right? The art of manipulating symbols, words, and images to achieve a change in consciousness is the official explanation. Well, that sounds like art today, right? Who are the artists? Who are the artists of today, or who are the magics of today? Maybe, sure, there's Penn and Teller and David Copperfield and Chris Angel and all those guys are using technology to move those illusions past the sleight of hand of your cigarette or a ball in your hand to moving the Empire State Building. I don't know, craziness. But another way to look at artists of today, or magic of today, is writers, right? Writers and artists, and let's move that into television production or movies and media. And they're kind of the ones that are creating the magic today, right? Creating illusions, changing our perception through shifts, through manipulating words and images. It's kind of like magic, right? How we can all change our thinking because of what we've seen repeated on television. It's kind of a magical phenomenon. But if you go back to ancient times, think of this. Back in the ancient times, all culture started with the cult. All the power in ancient civilizations was held by the shamans. The shamans and the religious leaders who dictated when to plant the crops and when things would happen and how and explained how things happened and interpreted the unknown for us, right? Those were the shamans. They owned it all. Well, today, advertising, right? Advertising's kind of the shit that they kind of own it all today, right? Except that today, instead of them, you got to be very careful, right? Because today that magic is used to persuade, to make us feel comfortable with different ideas. It is not there to wake us up and bring us to a new reality. It is to hide reality from us, make us comfortable in a made-up world so that the reality of our lives, our brains, our relationship to the divine, our power as humans is hidden from us, right? They want to put everything into that magical world that says, we're going to tell you, you don't need to know how this works. Don't pay attention to this. Don't pay attention to what's going on over here. I'll tell you what you need to know. So advertising, media, messaging, kind of a form of magic. Now, I say this without trying to minimize. Debbie says, I'm sorry, everything's too far away from me this morning. I bring my lucky rock to the casinos. Of course you do, because you've infused it with magic, right? Your belief in the rock is magic. So anyway, I don't want to take away from real magic, because magic exists in our lives all around us. And my explanation or my comparison to media and messaging and that, just to help you think and expand your mind to think of what you think of as magic, right? Is what we think of in the terms of magic. But you know, magic is real. The phone rings and you know who it is, right? You take a little pile of tincture and a brush and a little water and all of a sudden create a beautiful painting that invokes deep feelings of emotion. That's magic. That's right. A baby cries and his nursing mother's breast starts to lactate just at the sound of his voice. That's magic. That's magic in our lives, all around us. Now, a lot of very smart and respected folk believed in magic. Galileo, who is considered the paragon of rationality, moved the world from a Earth-centric view to a heliocentric view, that the sun was the center of the universe, not the Earth, through lots of controversy, right? But he loved astrology, practiced astrology, thought it was part of science, did astrology readings for rich patrons, right? So while he was a scientist that fought the good fight on one hand, also had room in his thinking for what he learned through astrology. Then Isaac Newton thought alchemy was going to be the fundamentals of brand new science. Alchemy, the idea of creating gold out of nothing, or changing one thing of one form to something else. It can be a broader definition of alchemy. Thought alchemy was the future of science, right? Magic is, in many ways, is just science we don't understand yet. How many things you talk about flying to ancients and they'd say that's magic, and then the Wright brothers came along and bada bing, bada boom, flying is science. A lot of things we haven't understood through the years just turned out to be explanations. And maybe a lot of things we think are magic today, intuition, telepathy, ESP, holistic healing, maybe those are all absolutely scientific events that we're just beginning to understand. Imagine the power when we harness the magic of our minds. Well, I, for one, cannot wait. And in fact, I've just bought this book, The Unconscious Mind, by David Radin, to understand the science behind magic, the science behind the power of our brains and the things we can do outside of our senses by focusing our brain. Apparently, he's going to teach me how. And I can't wait for it, right? Because I'm very interested in an astral travel, or remote viewing, or seeing into the future, eliminating the timeline and seeing the possibility and the potential of all dimensions, of all possibilities, all happening at one time. Right? Things that today are in my little bucket of everything happens for a reason. I don't understand this, but I don't understand TV, but I still watch it. Kind of an understanding, right? To the science behind it, to understanding what's happening in our brain, to understanding that the rules of physics can apply to the paranormal, non-physical world as well. Exciting stuff, my friends. Exciting indeed. Well, that's all we have for today. I just wanted to talk about magic because, well, I think, like I said, I like to think Magic Mondays. I want to talk about something fun on Mondays, something that inspires you, something that starts your week off with the unlimited possibilities that are you and all you can achieve. You are magic. You hold a bit of magic just by being a sentient being, just by being a human being here on Earth today. You are exhibiting magic in the life that fills you, in the animation, in the ability of this glob of gooey gray matter up here to produce thoughts and art and philosophy and words that can make you laugh, that can make you cry, in producing a picture that humbles you to the point where you just burst into tears, to creating a life that makes everyone around you so happy, so elevated, so feeling like their feet are not touching the ground. That's magic, my friends. That's your assignment for today. Magic Monday. Go out and create some magic in your life today. So, until tomorrow, make it a happy day. I'm sorry. Until tomorrow, make it a happy day.